There was a time post-2010 when gaming seemed headed to a free-to-play future, a world in which the industry would embrace the idea of providing players with essentially an entire game for free, with a handful of limited features for paying customers. That trend has since shifted into two common ideas, though they are not at odds with each other. The first one being games as a service, or live service games. Think Fortnite. Whether free or not, these titles provide regular season drops of content, whether in the form of gameplay features like new playable characters, weapons or maps, or cosmetic features like skins. In the fighting game space, there are several free-to-play titles, especially on PC, that inhabit a wide range of ideas. From titles meant to introduce players to a game and entice them to buy the full product, to what many would recognize as the modern free-to-play titles, and experimental titles, often made by small indie teams that aim to explore the boundaries of what fighting games are. In today's DashFight video, we will dive into all these titles and look through the entire scope, so you don't have to. Although we won't have nearly enough time to truly go over everything in detail. We hope that you come away with one or two titles that you maybe skipped over in the past, or even start your own journey through the free fields of play. The distinction we're making between demos, like those of Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8, and free editions comes from the fact that most demos have limited replayability. Tekken and Street Fighter's demos may allow you to play versus a computer opponent as many times as you want, but that can hardly be code replayable. Enter Granblue Fantasy vs Rising, whose free edition comes with a wide range of online modes, including ranked. The game also features 4 playable characters that rotate each week. Interesting tidbit about that rotation, the top characters from that week's major event are usually picked as the free characters for the following week, but DLC characters are omitted, of course. Only a small part of the game's story is available for free, though other free single-player content is available in arcade mode. Ultimately, the full game has seen discounts of up to 50% in 2024, so there are good opportunities to buy it outright for those patiently waiting. Worth noting that you can't just buy individual characters if you are playing the free edition, and you will need to purchase the full game to buy individual DLC characters. Overall, Granblue Fantasy vs Rising Free Edition gets an 8 out of 10 as a free game from us. Well worth just trying out with some nice replayability with multiplayer matches and rotating characters. The other title in this category is Killer Instinct, which recently saw a re-release in an Anniversary Edition, and the new free edition made available. Although a reasonably old game at this point, KI still has a strong fanbase and frequently features in offline tournaments. The free version includes offline and online modes, though your rotation of characters is much more limited, at just one character. However, you can technically purchase more characters individually without shelling out for the full game by purchasing KI Gold. But honestly, the game goes on a sale frequently enough and at a deep enough discount that it would be easy enough to pick up the full game for less than $5 during a major sale. KI is also a game that is available in full through Game Pass, and given the Microsoft connection, you can be reasonably sure that it will remain to be a part of the service's catalog for a long time. A strong 5 out of 10. Only one character in the rotation is a bit of a letdown, but access to multiplayer, and cross-platform at that, means that you can always come back later for some action. Unlike free editions, what we call modern free-to-play are games that from the start present themselves as complete experiences with some potential add-on purchases. Maybe the best example of a long-lasting model in this space is Brawlhalla. With over a decade of development, the Blue Mammoth Games team has kept the game fresh for years, especially post-Ubisoft deal. The game has enjoyed a healthy population of players and even a competitive scene that continues to turn out for the game's official tournament circuit year after year. Brawlhalla's platform fighter formula with weapons gives it a lot of room to develop new characters every few months. Granted, these characters are basically divided between their normal moves, which are all based on their respective weapon, and their specials or signature moves as the game calls them, which are truly unique to those characters. Even as you open the huge character select screen, you realize that about a third of the characters are reskins based on collaborations. These collaborations span a wide range of mediums and brand sizes, from indie games like Shovel Knight to multimedia giants like Star Wars. it's impossible to give Brawlhalla a bad rating. Its longevity as a free-to-play game, along with its competitive scene and community, puts it well into the 8 out of 10 category for us. A more recent example of the free-to-play model is Multiversus, the Warner Bros. Hail Mary from Player First Games, which was released last year after a very long beta period. Although it had a somewhat rocky start, it has consistently released updates and new content. Once again, as a free player, you will have a rotation of characters to choose from every week, with the ability to buy new ones in-game with cash or by completing their Fighter Road mechanic, in which earning XP through the various modes and events eventually unlocks a fighter of your choosing. Since the release, Multiversus has gradually improved, but its unlocking system, the Battle Pass and the mini buying and spending systems, well, we can't give it a higher rating than a 6. The two other games we will be showcasing here are Flash Party and Fantasy Strike. The first one is another platform fighter, though in actuality a port for mobile, which leads us to the acknowledgement that the mobile landscape today is far more diverse when it comes to free-to-play titles than PC. However, that says very little about the quality of them. Flash Party is not a groundbreaking entry into the genre, and outside of categorically fitting into our criteria for this video, it merits little recognition. A 3 out of 10 if you will. Given the existence of the many other platform fighters, 2 of which are free, there is not a lot to grasp here. Fantasy Strike is a bit different. Its approach to free-to-play is unorthodox. It provides all of its playable characters for free from the start, but not all of its modes. And we're not talking about story mode here either. Instead, local versus and online versus friends are part of their core bundle, which means they are not accessible for free. Development stopped in late 2021 when the last update for the game was released. Overall, it's a 3 out of 10. It's a neat idea, but it's practically dead these days. Alright, this is where we have to take out a crowbar and crack open the methodology box to peer into its secrets. At this point you probably think, surely there have to be more free-to-play fighting games, and you would be right, there are quite a few more. However, they are often really hard to classify as fighting games as you and I know them. Some, like Elsword, are better served as an RPG first and foremost, while others, like Rumble Fighter Unleashed, are beat-em-ups. Others yet are arena-esque fighters, like One Piece Bounty Rush, which might fit if you narrow your eyes and hold your breath long enough to play around. We won't go into all of those. Instead, we will highlight other, more novel approaches to what a fighting game is that also do so at a free price tag. We have already mentioned the big-ticket item in other videos, Toribash. This experimental free-to-play fighting game genuinely feels like a fever dream from a maximalist simulation designer who turned to biokinetics for inspiration. Somehow they found that the loop of predict, adjust, and react in fighting games is just as enthralling in a turn-based fighter as it is in real time. And so, like Toribash, there are plenty of passion projects. Smaller indie titles that either experiment with what a fighting game is, or try to hone in on a specific part of the genre, or are enthralled by the aesthetics of generations past, such as the case with the Schwarzer Blitz, a self-proclaimed love letter to the early 3D fighters of 2000s. Further still, there are games that rarely, if ever, make it onto major platforms like Steam. Arena Ultimate is one such example. Inspired by the massively popular original, this parody turns it into a fighting game. Attempting to put a rating on these games is missing the point of their existence. Whether as a parody, or a love letter, or an exploration of mechanical depth, these games sit far outside the confines of trying to break into the mainstream. As such, we recommend them so you can interrogate your own assumptions about the genre-defining mechanics, nostalgia-driven aesthetics, or the absurdist humor of parody. Before we close out this video, we do want to highlight Itch, Newgrounds, and many other sites like them. Many up-and-coming developers use these places as a platform to experiment. As much as we might enjoy the ease of places like Steam, PlayStation Store, Epic's Launcher, Xbox, and so on, these are still curated storefronts. If you seek the forefront of exploring genre conventions or a deeply personal passion project, then you are far more likely to find those nuggets of gold on those platforms. many of them for free. There are still many games that we didn't have time to highlight in today's video, but if there is interest, we would be happy to make another video showing off more free-to-play fighting games. Until then, thank you for watching and see you next time.